Good evening and welcome. Tonight we travel back more than 4,500 years to the hot sands of ancient Egypt. Before you stands one of the greatest monuments ever built by human hands, the Great Pyramid of Giza. Even today, it rises above the desert with breathtaking size and precision. How could people without cranes, engines, or modern machines build something so enormous? Who were the people behind this incredible achievement? And what secrets still lie hidden inside its ancient stone walls? As we slowly uncover the story of the Great Pyramid, allow yourself to relax, settle in, and let history gently guide you toward sleep. As the first rays of sunlight spread across the Egyptian desert, the Great Pyramid slowly awakens beneath a golden sky. For more than 4,500 years, it has stood here, watching empires rise and disappear into history. When it was completed, it was the tallest structure on Earth, a record it would hold for nearly 4,000 years. Its enormous size still amazes engineers and historians today. But before we explore how it was built, we must first understand why anyone would attempt such an extraordinary project in the first place. Our journey begins long before the first stone was ever placed upon the desert floor. Long before the first pyramid rose above the desert, there was the Nile. Each year, its gentle floods covered the land with rich, fertile soil, turning the dry banks into fields of life. For the people of ancient Egypt, the Nile was far more than a river. It provided fresh water, food, transportation, and the fertile land that allowed one of the world's greatest civilizations to flourish. Small farming villages slowly grew into prosperous communities. Generation after generation, the rhythm of life followed the river. Without the Nile, there would have been no powerful pharaohs, and perhaps no Great Pyramid at all. As the centuries passed, the small farming villages along the Nile slowly transformed into thriving towns and great cities. People no longer lived only as farmers. There were skilled craftsmen, talented builders, merchants, priests, and scribes who carefully recorded every important event. Together, they created one of the most organized civilizations the ancient world had ever seen. At the heart of this growing kingdom stood a single ruler, the Pharaoh. To the people of Egypt, the Pharaoh was far more than a king. He was believed to be chosen by the gods, the protector of the land, and the guardian of harmony between heaven, the Nile, and the people. It was this powerful belief that would one day inspire the construction of the greatest pyramid the world has ever known. Around 4,500 years ago, Egypt was ruled by a powerful king known today as Pharaoh Khufu. To his people, he was far more than a ruler. He was believed to protect the balance between the heavens, the Nile, and the land itself. Like many pharaohs before him, Khufu believed that life did not end with death. Instead, death was only the beginning of an eternal journey. To prepare for that journey, he envisioned a monument unlike anything the world had ever seen. It would rise high above the desert, not only as his final resting place, but as a symbol of eternal power, remembered for thousands of years. Building the Great Pyramid did not begin with stone, it began with an idea. Inside the royal palace, Pharaoh Khufu met with his trusted officials, skilled architects, and experienced builders. Leading the project was a man believed to be Hemiunu, the royal architect, whose knowledge of mathematics, engineering, and construction would help shape one of history's greatest achievements. Before a single block of limestone was cut, every measurement had to be carefully planned. The monument had to be strong enough to endure for centuries, and precise enough to honor a king who believed his journey would continue long after death. Before the first stone could ever be placed, one important decision had to be made. Where should such an extraordinary monument stand? The answer was the Giza Plateau, a vast stretch of solid limestone overlooking the fertile Nile Valley. The ground here was strong enough to support millions of tons of stone, while its elevated position allowed the monument to dominate the landscape for miles. Royal surveyors carefully measured the land with ropes, wooden rods, and simple yet remarkably accurate tools. Every angle, every distance, and every line had to be perfect. For a monument meant to last forever, even the smallest mistake could not be allowed. With the location finally chosen, the builders faced another remarkable challenge. The foundation had to be almost perfectly level. Using only simple tools, careful measurements, and extraordinary patience, Egyptian engineers slowly shaped the natural limestone beneath their feet. High spots were carefully cut away, while lower areas were measured again and again, until the surface became astonishingly flat. Modern engineers have studied this foundation with great admiration. Even after more than 4,500 years, the base of the Great Pyramid remains incredibly precise, a silent reminder that true craftsmanship begins long before the first stone is ever raised. With the foundation complete, the next challenge was even greater. The builders now needed millions of blocks of limestone, each one carefully shaped to fit with remarkable precision. Fortunately, much of the limestone lay beneath the very ground on which the pyramid would stand. Teams of skilled stone workers began cutting the solid rock using simple copper chisels, heavy stone hammers, and endless patience. Every block was measured with great care. A single mistake, repeated thousands of times, could threaten the stability of the entire monument. The Great Pyramid would not be built by strength alone, but by extraordinary skill, careful planning, and remarkable teamwork. Cutting the stone was only the beginning. Some limestone blocks weighed more than 2 tons, and every single one had to be moved across the desert to the construction site. Without wheels, without engines, and without cranes, the task seemed almost impossible. The builders placed each block on sturdy wooden sleds, while large teams worked together to pull them across the sand. To make the journey easier, workers poured water onto the sand ahead of the sleds, reducing friction and allowing the heavy stones to slide more smoothly. It was a simple idea, yet one so effective that modern scientific experiments have shown it truly worked. Step by step, stone by stone, the Great Pyramid slowly began to rise from the desert. As more and more limestone blocks arrived, the true construction finally began. The first course of stones was placed directly upon the carefully leveled foundation. Each block had to fit so closely to the next that only the thinnest gap remained between them. Master builders checked every measurement again and again, making tiny adjustments before allowing the next stone to be set in place. Slowly, almost silently, the pyramid began to grow. What had once been an empty stretch of desert was now becoming one of the greatest engineering achievements in human history. With every perfectly placed stone, Pharaoh Khufu's dream moved one step closer to becoming reality. As the pyramid grew taller, each new layer became more difficult to reach. The builders needed a way to lift millions of heavy stones higher and higher above the desert floor. Many historians believe they solved this challenge by building enormous earthen ramps. These gently sloping pathways allowed teams of workers to pull massive limestone blocks upward on sturdy wooden sledges. It was exhausting work, requiring perfect coordination, patience, and remarkable determination. Although archaeologists continue to debate the exact design of these ramps, most agree they played an important role in raising one of history's greatest monuments, one stone at a time. Lifting the stones into place was only part of the challenge. Each limestone block had to fit with extraordinary precision. Master stonemasons carefully trimmed rough edges, smoothing each surface until it matched the neighboring stone almost perfectly. They worked slowly, checking every angle, every corner, and every measurement before the block was finally lowered into position. The remarkable accuracy of their work still surprises engineers today. Even after more than 4,500 years, many of these ancient stones remain tightly joined, a lasting testament to the patience, craftsmanship, and dedication of the people who built the Great Pyramid. For many years, people believed the Great Pyramid was built by slaves, but modern archaeological discoveries tell a very different story. Near the Giza Plateau, archaeologists uncovered the remains of workers' villages, bakeries, kitchens, and even cemeteries. These discoveries suggest that many of the builders were skilled laborers, respected craftsmen, and seasonal workers who came from across Egypt. They were well organized into teams, each responsible for a different task. Together, through planning, cooperation, and extraordinary dedication, they achieved something that still inspires the world today. When the day's work finally came to an end, the builders returned to a busy village built especially for them. Here, they rested in simple mud brick homes, shared meals with friends and family, and prepared for another demanding day. Archaeological discoveries suggest that the workers received generous amounts of bread, onions, fish, and even beef, a valuable source of strength for such difficult labor. Doctors treated injuries. Bakers worked before sunrise, and scribes carefully recorded the food and supplies needed to support thousands of people. The Great Pyramid was not built by one extraordinary individual, but by an entire community, working together with remarkable skill, and quiet determination. Before sunrise, the construction site was already alive with activity. Thousands of workers gathered for another demanding day beneath the Egyptian sky. Each team knew its responsibility. Some hauled enormous limestone blocks. Others shaped the stone with incredible precision, while experienced builders carefully guided every block into its exact position. Nearby, scribes recorded the day's progress, ensuring that every delivery, every worker, and every stone was accounted for. It was a remarkable display of organization, proving that the Great Pyramid was not simply a monument of stone, but a masterpiece of planning, discipline, and human cooperation. As the pyramid climbed higher into the sky, another extraordinary project was taking shape deep inside. Hidden within the massive stone structure, builders began creating a network of passageways and chambers unlike anything the ancient world had ever seen. The most impressive of them all would become known as the King's Chamber. Unlike the limestone used throughout most of the pyramid, this chamber was built with enormous blocks of red granite, transported hundreds of kilometers from the quarries of Aswan. Moving these colossal stones into the heart of the pyramid remains one of the greatest engineering achievements of the ancient world. Even today, historians continue to marvel at the precision, determination, and extraordinary skill required to accomplish such a remarkable feat. As the pyramid climbed higher into the sky, another extraordinary project was taking shape deep inside. Hidden within the massive stone structure, builders began creating a network of passageways and chambers unlike anything the ancient world had ever seen. The most impressive of them all would become known as the King's Chamber. Unlike the limestone used throughout most of the pyramid, this chamber was built with enormous blocks of red granite, transported hundreds of kilometers from the quarries of Aswan. Moving these colossal stones into the heart of the pyramid remains one of the greatest engineering achievements of the ancient world. Even today, historians continue to marvel at the precision, determination, and extraordinary skill required to accomplish such a remarkable feat. Not every stone came from the Giza Plateau. The most important chambers inside the Great Pyramid required something far stronger: massive blocks of red granite. These extraordinary stones were quarried hundreds of kilometers away. Near the ancient city of Aswan, each block weighed dozens of tons. Yet somehow, the Egyptians transported them along the Nile aboard enormous wooden barges, taking advantage of the river's annual flood to bring the heavy cargo closer to Giza. It was a journey that demanded careful planning, skilled sailors, and remarkable engineering. Without the Nile, this incredible achievement might never have been possible. Bringing the granite blocks to Giza was only half the challenge. The true test began once the stones reached the pyramid itself. Some of these granite blocks weighed more than 50 tons, yet they had to be moved through narrow passageways and lifted high into the heart of the monument. Working together, teams of builders used wooden levers, heavy ropes, and carefully prepared ramps to guide each stone into its exact position. There was no room for error. A single mistake could damage months of hard work. With extraordinary patience and remarkable skill, the builders slowly created the chamber that would remain hidden within the Great Pyramid for more than 4,500 years. Deep inside the Great Pyramid, one of its most remarkable spaces slowly emerged. Today we call it the Grand Gallery. Rising more than 8 meters high, this extraordinary passage gently climbs toward the King's Chamber. Every limestone block was placed with astonishing precision, creating walls that have remained stable for more than 4,500 years. Even now, historians continue to debate its exact purpose. Was it simply a grand corridor, or did it also help the builders lift and position the enormous granite blocks above? Whatever its true role, the Grand Gallery remains one of the greatest architectural achievements of the ancient world, inviting every visitor to wonder how such perfection was possible. At the very heart of the Great Pyramid lay the chamber intended for Pharaoh Khufu himself. Today, we know it as the King's Chamber. Unlike the surrounding limestone, every wall, every ceiling beam was built from enormous blocks of polished red granite. At the center of the room stood a simple granite sarcophagus, carved from a single block of stone. There were no colorful paintings, no golden decorations, only quiet strength and remarkable precision. For more than 4,500 years, this silent chamber has inspired countless questions. Who first stood here, and what ceremonies once echoed through these ancient walls? Below the King's Chamber, Another mysterious room was carefully constructed. Today, archaeologists call it the Queen's Chamber. Surprisingly, no queen was ever buried here. Its true purpose remains one of the Great Pyramid's greatest mysteries. At the eastern wall, builders created a tall, elegant niche, unlike anything found elsewhere inside the monument. Some researchers believe this room may have held a sacred statue of Pharaoh Khufu, while others think it served an important ceremonial purpose during ancient rituals. More than 4,500 years later, this quiet chamber continues to keep its secrets, waiting patiently for history to reveal a few more answers. The Great Pyramid is far more than a mountain of stone. Hidden within its massive walls lies an intricate network of narrow passages, carefully designed long before the outer layers were completed. Some corridors descend deep into the bedrock, while others climb toward the king's chamber through steep and remarkably precise passageways. Small shafts, once thought to provide fresh air, continue to puzzle researchers even today. Were they built for ventilation, for symbolic purposes, or perhaps to guide the spirit of the pharaoh toward the stars? Although modern technology has revealed many secrets, the true purpose of some of these hidden passages remains one of the greatest mysteries of ancient Egypt. As the final chambers neared completion, the Great Pyramid became more than an extraordinary building. For the people of ancient Egypt, it was a sacred place, carefully prepared for a king's eternal journey. Priests entered the silent chambers carrying incense, offering prayers to the gods, and asking for protection over Pharaoh Khufu in the life beyond death. Every corridor, every chamber, and every carefully placed stone reflected a belief that life did not end with death, but continued into eternity. To us, the Great Pyramid is one of history's greatest engineering achievements, but to the ancient Egyptians, it was something even greater. A bridge between the world of the living and the world beyond. As the Great Pyramid approached its final form, one last layer transformed its appearance completely. The rough limestone blocks were covered with smooth, brilliantly polished casing stones, quarried from the fine white limestone of Tura. When sunlight struck these carefully polished stones, the pyramid shimmered across the desert like a giant beacon. Travelers approaching from the Nile would have seen a monument glowing beneath the Egyptian sky, visible from many kilometers away. The weathered pyramid we see today looks very different from the one the ancient Egyptians admired. Long ago, its smooth white surface reflected the sun with breathtaking brilliance, making it one of the most spectacular sights in the ancient world. After years of careful planning, relentless effort, and extraordinary craftsmanship, the Great Pyramid finally stood complete. Its smooth white limestone surface reflected the brilliant Egyptian sun, making the monument shine across the desert like a mountain of light. At its highest point, the builders placed the pyramidion, the sacred capstone that marked the completion of Pharaoh Khufu's eternal monument. For the people gathered below, this was more than the end of a construction project. It was the fulfillment of a vision that had taken decades to achieve, a symbol of faith, power, and the remarkable abilities of the ancient Egyptian people. No one standing there could have imagined that more than 4,500 years later, people from every corner of the world would still come to admire what they had created. When the final stone was placed, the Great Pyramid became unlike anything the ancient world had ever witnessed. Its polished white surface reflected the morning sunlight with extraordinary brilliance, while the golden capstone sparkled high above the desert. For the people of Egypt, this was not simply a building, it was a sacred monument, created to stand for eternity, connecting the earthly kingdom with the heavens above. Generations of skilled workers, architects, sailors, stone cutters, and craftsmen had devoted years of their lives to its construction. Their names have mostly faded into history, yet their remarkable achievement continues to inspire millions of people, even after 4,500 years. With the Great Pyramid finally complete, an even greater mystery remained hidden within its silent walls. What was really inside this extraordinary monument? For thousands of years, only a handful of people ever entered these narrow passages. Deep at the center stood the king's chamber, containing a single granite sarcophagus. Surprisingly, when modern explorers entered the pyramid, they found no golden treasures, no royal crown, and no mummy of Pharaoh Khufu. Had the treasures been stolen long ago, or had the pyramid guarded secrets that history has yet to uncover? The search for those answers continues to this very day. If Pharaoh Khufu was truly buried inside the Great Pyramid, what happened to his treasures? Most historians believe the answer lies in a story as old as the pyramid itself. Not long after the monument was sealed, tomb robbers likely searched for hidden riches. Driven by the promise of gold, precious jewelry, and valuable artifacts, they carefully forced their way through the ancient stone. By the time later visitors entered the king's chamber, it was already empty. Whether the treasures were stolen, hidden elsewhere, or perhaps never placed there at all, remains one of the Great Pyramid's most enduring mysteries. Even today, the silent chambers continue to leave us with more questions than answers. For centuries, many believed the Great Pyramid had revealed all of its secrets, but modern science tells a different story. Instead of breaking through the ancient walls, researchers now use advanced technologies to look deep inside the monument without causing damage. In 2017, an international team announced the discovery of a large, hidden void above the Grand Gallery, one of the most significant discoveries inside the Great Pyramid in centuries. What lies within that mysterious space, no one knows for certain. It may be another chamber, a construction space, or something historians have never imagined. Even after 4,500 years, the Great Pyramid continues to remind us that history still has secrets waiting to be discovered. The discovery of the hidden void raised an entirely new question. If such a large space remained unknown for thousands of years, what else might still be hidden inside the Great Pyramid? Some archaeologists believe the void may have helped reduce pressure on the chambers below. Others wonder whether it could lead to another undiscovered room. So far, no one has entered this mysterious space. The ancient builders left no written explanation, and the pyramid continues to guard its silence. Perhaps one day, new technology will reveal another piece of the story. Until then, one of humanity's greatest monuments continues to keep some of its oldest secrets. As darkness settled over the Giza plateau, the Great Pyramid stood beneath the same stars that had guided its builders thousands of years ago. To the ancient Egyptians, the heavens were not simply beautiful. They believed the stars were part of the eternal journey awaiting every pharaoh. Some researchers suggest that the pyramid's narrow shafts were carefully aligned with important stars, allowing the king's spirit to symbolically travel into the sky. Whether these passages truly served that purpose or had another meaning remains a subject of ongoing debate, yet one thing is certain. For more than 4.5 millennia, the Great Pyramid has stood quietly beneath the night sky, connecting history, mystery, and the endless wonder of the universe. When the Great Pyramid was finally complete, it became the tallest structure ever built by human hands. Rising to nearly 146 meters, it dominated the Egyptian landscape like no other monument before it. For almost 4,000 years, no cathedral, no palace, and no tower anywhere on Earth would surpass its incredible height. Its perfect shape, remarkable precision, and breathtaking scale became a lasting symbol of ancient Egypt. Even today, standing at its base, it is difficult to imagine the vision, determination, and countless years of work that transformed a rocky plateau into one of humanity's greatest achievements. The true scale of the Great Pyramid is almost impossible to imagine. Researchers estimate that it was built using around 2.3 million blocks of stone. Most of these blocks weighed between 2 and 3 tons, while some of the massive granite beams above the king's chamber weighed many times more. Together, the entire monument is estimated to weigh nearly 6 million tons, yet despite its incredible size, the builders achieved a level of precision that continues to impress modern engineers. Standing before the Great Pyramid today, it is difficult not to wonder how an ancient civilization, armed with simple tools and remarkable determination, created a structure that has endured for more than 4,500 years. To truly understand the Great Pyramid, it helps to imagine yourself standing beside it. A single limestone block might reach your waist, yet above you, more than 2 million similar blocks rise toward the sky. At its original height, the monument stretched nearly 146 meters above the desert, making every person at its base appear incredibly small. Even today, visitors often say that photographs cannot capture its true size. Only by standing beside those ancient stones and looking upward can you begin to appreciate the extraordinary vision of the people who built it. It is not only a monument to a pharaoh, but a monument to human imagination, patience,